What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the DBL Podcast Shenanigans. I am your host, Rock Solid. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about relationships. And I guess when I say relationships, I should be a little bit more specific and direct. We're going to talk about some healthy relationships. We're going to talk about unhealthy relationships. We're going to talk about how to build them up, and we're going to talk about how to hold on to them. But by now, we should all know how to get in a relationship. And it starts with, yes, dating correctly. That is my mantra. If you date correctly, you can get into a relationship, but you must also remember to keep dating. Just because you're in a relationship, you must continue to keep dating in order to have a healthy relationship, okay? Listen, all healthy relationships go through their ups and downs. That I think that goes without saying. And they all take work, commitment, and a willingness to adapt and change with your partner. Okay? Because nobody's going to be the same as they was when you first met. Some people are going to be different in different seasons when money is different, when life is different, when they're different. So they're not going to always be the same. But whether you guys have been dating for a week or 2 years, 4 years, there are steps that you take to hopefully get to a place that you can call a healthy relationship. Okay? Even if you've been in a lot of failed relationships, you still must take the necessary steps to first heal yourself. All right? And then you look forward to relationships and then being in a healthy relationship, because if you heal yourself, that means that you're not leaving damage to another person because you haven't properly healed yourself. Okay? And no, we're not going to call your other relationships successful, because if they were successful, then you wouldn't still be out here dating, okay? But have no fear, right? We're going to talk, and we're going to work it out today. Today, we're going to talk about ways to reconnect and find ways to fulfill your own self and your own happiness first and foremost in your life. Because trust me when I tell you, you don't want to be out here dating. We all know what the dating pool looks like. We all know what the options are out here. The pickings are slim. You got a lot of half, and listen to the word I'm using, half raised individuals, men and women. They were told something, but they wasn't given the complete story. And if they were, they took what the person told them and made it their own story. So they are half raised when you ask me. That's just my opinion. So we don't want to be out here in this dating pool. So when you find somebody that is, 80% of what you want, sometimes you got to work with that other 20%, and hopefully that it takes you somewhere else. And we're going to go ahead and dive into that right now. Look, every relationship is unique, and people come together for many, and I mean many different reasons. But part of what defines a healthy relationship is sharing a common goal for exactly what it is you want a relationship to be, or where you want it to go. And that's something that you'll only know by talking and having a honest, deep conversation with a person, preferably your partner, somebody that you want to spend this time with, because these conversations can become exhausting. So you have them with somebody that you're interested in investing your time and energy into, okay? However, there are a lot of things that make, most healthy relationships that they have in common. And knowing these things can, help keep our relationships in a meaningful and a strong and a healthy place. We don't talk about this in our generation. We don't talk about this, especially on the black side of town. We don't talk about things that make what a healthy relationship is. We just think that because we get along and because we ain't fighting, what I'm saying, then that we should be in a good place. But if you can maintain a meaningful and a healthy connection with your partner, you can both learn the difference between being loved and feeling loved. Okay? Because when you feel love, it makes you feel accepted and that your partner values you. You know what I'm saying? And like someone who truly gets who you are, because they value you, but they also make you feel love. And that has a lot of value. And then on the other hand, you have some relationships that get stuck in a peaceful coexistence. And yes, you heard what I just said, right? Then you start, and if you heard what I said, then you had to hear just how bad it sounds. Because lack of an ongoing involvement and an emotional connection, only serves to add distance between you and two people. We see this every single day where, he doesn't make me mad, or, she hasn't cussed me out today, then we're going to just peacefully coexist with each other and get to a place where it doesn't even make sense where you guys even still together. But because the pickings are slim, sometimes people stick it out for no reason and then they end up in a bad situation. Okay. Some couples, they talk things out quietly, while others may raise their voice and passionately disagree. But the key to a strong relationship, though, it is not to be fearful of that conflict, right? Because I'm unhappy about something or I feel a certain type of way about something. It's okay to raise your voice, right? But you need to feel safe to be able to express things that bother you without the fear of retaliation. And we're going to get into the retaliation part here in just a second, right? And you got to be able to resolve conflict without, humiliating or degrading, or trying to insist on being right. So let's get back to the retaliation part. A lot of times when couples are having a disagreement or an argument, we talked about this on our shenanigans. I'm expressing how I feel, how you've made me feel, right? And I feel safe enough in this relationship where I can tell you what's going on or what I don't like about something or what you're doing, how it made me feel. I can feel safe doing that. But the retaliation comes back, well, you should look at yourself. Or what about when you start trying to point out someone else's wrong in the midst of them telling you about how they feel, that's no longer a safe place. You're now trying to retaliate against me because I feel a certain type of way. You now want to tell me yours. But you must deal with one thing before you start trying to deal with another. That's what makes the difference between healthy and unhealthy. Humiliating someone, telling them that they're this or that they're that, things that you wouldn't normally say, because people that you love, you're not trying to humiliate. You're not trying to degrade them. Okay? And another one of those unhealthy things is when you try to insist on being right. We're all guilty of it, including myself. We are all guilty of, thinking that everything we say is God's gift to the world, that there's no way you can be wrong. You have to be willing to talk, but also be willing to listen. But the healthy side of it is that if I'm willing to listen to you, you also have to in turn be willing to listen to me, because I want to be made to feel like I matter. And I'm talking about from a male and female standpoint on this, because a lot of us get this confused that if a man says that, you make me feel this way, oh, he finna try to come with some punk crap or whatever the case may be. And if a woman talks about, oh, she's just nagging, bitching and complaining. But the only thing the other person wants is to be heard. Once you're being heard, you must use that platform to your advantage. Express yourself. Talk about it. Be willing to answer questions to give clarity on what it is that you're trying to get resolved, and then vice versa, okay? Because contrary to what other people might say or think, you keep outside relationships and interests alive in relationships. And yes, I said you have to keep other relationships. Despite these claims that you might see in a romantic movie, no one person can meet all your needs. In fact, expecting too much from that other person can put you in an unhealthy pressure, on your relationship. To simulate and enrich your romantic relationship, it is important to maintain your own identity outside of a relationship. Preserving connection with family and friends and maintaining hobbies and interests, things that you like to do, and please don't come at me with the BS. Nobody's telling you, keep up a relationship with your ex, right? We're talking about healthy people. Stay in contact with people that can help you stay grounded. People that can help you remain in contact with who you are as an individual. Because, listen, I've been in long-term relationships. I've been in short relationships. And I'm telling you from my own experience, as great of a man as I may think I am, or that she may say that I am, I can't be her best friend in a female form. I can't be her gay best friend. I can't be her everything. As much as you may lie to yourself and say that you can be, it's impossible, because this person has spent their entire life being this individual, and they had to compromise to be in this relationship with you. So if we're going to say that relationships are based upon compromise, that means that there is something that you don't offer, that if they don't get it elsewhere, there's going to be a part of them that's missing. Now you're falling into that unhealthy place in relationships, okay? Like I said, I don't want to dwell on any one particular thing, but still being connected to who you are as an individual will also help you stay connected in your relationships. Knowing who you are. If I like to play basketball and you don't, I still got to find time, because basketball may be my release. Riding motorcycles may be my release. You going to a sip and paint might be your release. Or you having some girl time in Vegas might be your release. We all need them. And sex isn't the only way to release. But when you start trying to Humphrey Bogart a person's space and blocking them from being who they are as an individual, because it's not your definition of what that person should do, you're also putting them in a box that they can no longer stay in. Now your relationship is trading in a dangerous place. And now the odds of you becoming single or in this dating pool, this contaminated water again, becomes more and more likely, okay? So if you communicate openly and honestly, right? Good communication is the key part of any relationship. It ain't the sex. It ain't what you look like in your best dress clothes or your makeup or your J's or your whip, right? Communication. And I'm not talking about, hey, how you doing, the robotic crap. I'm talking about genuine conversation that's got some meat and potatoes behind it. It's got some substance. Learning something every single day. The most profound question that I've found in relationships to ask somebody is, tell me something about yourself that I don't already know. Now you're making that person think, what haven't I told you? But whatever they tell you, you ask for this, so you got to be willing to hear it as well. Okay? Listen, we both, when both people know what they want from the relationship and feel comfortable expressing what their needs and fears and desires are, it can increase the trust, the strength, and the bond and the sexual chemistry between each other. That right there is like, the most important thing. Okay? But, another solid tip is staying connected through your communication. Okay? Good communication is fundamentally a part of healthy relationships. I keep stressing this, but I can't stress it enough. Because when you experience a positive and emotional connection with your partner, you feel happy. When I feel happy, my energy goes towards you. When you feel happy, your energy comes towards me. Now we're knowing how to be happy together. Okay? When people stop communicating well, they stop relating well. And at times they change, they start to change, they start to stress, and it can really bring out and disconnect a relationship. It may sound so simplistic, but as long as you're communicating, you can usually, and I mean usually, I'm not saying all the time, but I'm saying usually, you can work through whatever problems it is that you're facing. Okay? You must be willing to tell your partner what's going on and how you feel and not make them guess. All right? I'm not a mind reader. If she knows or if I know what's wrong or what's going on, it gives us the chance to even try to fix it, or hell, at least correct the behavior that's causing this. And yes, I know I always try to make it sound easy, right? But sometimes it's just that simple. It's not always easy to talk about what you need. If you need a longer sex life, how do I tell my partner that you don't last long enough? You know what I'm saying? How do I tell a partner that, she's no good at cooking? But if it's something that I need, you have to give me or that other person a space to be able to express that. You know what I'm saying? That's got to be one of the things that you must work on in any healthy relationship. For one, many of us don't spend enough time, thinking about, what is actually important to us in a relationship. Okay? We just try to go through the motions and we just try to, roll our way through things and hope that they get better, right? And, even if you don't know what you need, learning and trusting your partner it can maybe help you get back to where it is you need to be to help you feel grounded. Because when you hear what they want and what they need, it also gives you a baseline. If a person tells you when you're going, when you guys meet somebody and they tell you, I expect to, for you to take me out every Friday, you know what I'm saying, and take me here and take me there, they're expressing what they need from you. But if they're telling you what they need, that also opens up an opportunity. Well, you know what? Maybe I want somebody to sex me every, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Maybe this is my time to let her know. This is the time to do that by expressing yourself and letting it look at, letting that person know what it is. But it also makes you feel comfortable enough to put out what it is you need. Okay. But look at it from your partner's point of view. Providing comfort also gives them that same understanding, you know what I'm saying? And that's coming from someone you love, and pleasure. And it doesn't become a burden to express yourself. You have to be able to tell that other person what it is you want and need, but they also got to be able to feel it in the same way. Because if they're giving you everything you want, but they don't feel like they're getting what they want, you're in an unhealthy space at that point. There's an expression out there. I love you so much. And the question that always comes back is, but did you love me the way that I wanted to be loved? I gave you everything. Did you give me everything that I wanted? Because there's a difference between what you want and what I want. There's a difference between how you love and how I love. You can love a person the best way you know how, but if it's not with the type of love that they want and need from you, then they're not getting what they need. So they still never feel love. Okay? If you've known each other for a while, you may assume that your partner has a pretty good idea, what it is you're thinking and what you need. However, right, your partner, again, is not a mind reader. And while your partner may have some ideas because you guys have been together, it is a much healthier place to express your needs directly to avoid any confusion. And I want to say this, sometimes a conversation that you're having, other tentacles pop out, right? I want to say this, they're not a mind reader and all that, right? But being honest about things and telling the person exactly what it is you're feeling, what it is you're thinking, it gives you such a mental peace because there's no more confusion. The worst statement that a person can make to me is when I tell you exactly what it is that I want, what it is that I need, and what it is that I'm trying to say to you. For me, and I don't expect other people to feel the same way I feel, right? You cannot tell me, well, what I took from what you said, from what I heard from what you said. I was very clear in what it is that I'm saying. Sometimes we have to stop talking long enough to listen to what it is the other person is trying to tell me. And, look, like as a man, I may sense or feel like something is wrong, but when I ask you, it's okay to just tell me. Because when you say nothing is wrong, right, I'm forced to move on. But I know in my heart that something is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then when I move on, now you feeling like you in this thing by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. And that's not fair to me because I'm asking. It's no different than when I ask you, what do you want to do today? You say nothing or it doesn't matter. And then we go to the same sports bar that we go to. You lost your right to complain about it because you were asked for your opinion. When a person is asking you something, it's okay to be honest. But if you're asking and they don't feel like they can be honest with you, you sometimes have to take a step back and ask yourself, am I giving that person a space to express themselves and feel that way? Okay? And, even with me saying this to you, it doesn't mean you will talk, or that they will talk to you about any and everything. Sometimes you got to pay attention to those nonverbal skills. You got to look for those cues because it doesn't mean that they know how to express themselves or they know how to get their feelings out. It's a sigh or a body language or a flat out refuse to communicate with you. These things are not healthy, okay? But at least you have something, to talk about, or maybe it's a reactionary moment. But don't forget that this applies both ways. And I just stated this, previously, right? I got to be able to express myself without you trying to retaliate, right? We talk every single day. We talk on the phone every day. We see each other every day. However that may work in your relationship, right? You have to work on things that give a person a safe space to tell them that your oral sex sucks. You got to give them a safe space to tell them that I don't like your mom, and here's why. You have to give them a safe space to tell them that you can't cook, or that I don't like your friends, and here's why. You must give them that safe space to say that. Listen, there's a way to say everything, and I'm not telling you to be a jerk. I'm not telling you to be a butt, but I'm telling you, you have to be able to say those things because they're relevant to you. Okay? And you have to be willing to hear it because it's relevant to them. Because the same thing that you want in return, you also must be able to give it first. We're not doing the tick for tack game. That's that retaliation part. We're not doing that. If I'm willing to, there's a difference between criticizing and constructive criticism. Okay? Criticizing is to tell me that my oral sex sucks, right? But constructive criticism is to tell me that it sucks, but how, and yes, that's a pun, right? To tell me how it sucks, but also how to improve or what it is that you like that can make it better. First and foremost. So there must be a safe space between everybody. And if you don't know what I mean when I say safe space, then you might be part of the problem in your relationships and why they're not lasting, okay? Don't forget to keep the intimacy alive, okay? Physical contact is a huge part of the human existence. Not just relationships, but people. People like to feel, connected. And the strongest connection is through physical contact. That is energy being transferred between two people. Okay? Physical contact is like a kiss on the forehead. These things are not just sexually, but they can boost your connection with each other, making the other person feel your bond. Like it makes you so much stronger and tighter. It is very important to continue to build that healthy bond between each other. Affectionate touches, holding hands, hugging, kissing is equally important. Some people are not sexual beings, but they love the sexual chemistry that comes from, that PDA, public displays of affection, walking around kissing. It may not be your thing. Listen, it's not my thing. I'm not a PDA person, but I also understand that she is. And sometimes that's what's required to make her feel that connection in a relationship. I have a very strong sexual chemistry. That may not be that person's thing. So there's got to be other ways to connect and bond with another person. But as I say this, right, I must also say that sex isn't, a cure-all. You know what I'm saying? If you think it is, then, that's part of the reason why your partner, maybe doesn't respond to you in the bedroom the way they used to. Or maybe they don't do the things that you want them to do because they don't, that's all you want. Or that's all you make them feel like that's all you want. Okay? So, that's just another little tip. Keep that intimacy alive. Another small tip that I would give you, right, is, you got to learn to give and take in relationships. Okay? If you expect to get your way 100% of the time in a relationship, then you're setting yourself up for a disappointment. Healthy relationships are built on compromise, right? However, it takes work on each person's part to ensure that there's a reasonable exchange on the give and take. Okay? There has to be a reasonable exchange. Again, I don't like to do a lot of things. I'm set in my own ways, right? If she likes to travel, she likes to go out on trips and stuff like that, but that's not my forte, then I got to be willing to do that. But if I want to sit down on Saturdays and Sunday and watch college football and and pro football, right? You got to be willing to give me those weekends. It's only 4 months out of a year. So if I'm willing to give you your trips and travel, then you got to be willing to give me something. There has to be a reasonable exchange, okay? in order for that to remain healthy. But if you're expecting to get your way all the time, then it becomes unhealthy, okay? Listen, don't make winning the goal. If you approach the other person with the attitude that things have to be your way or else, it would, it's very difficult to compromise. And sometimes this attitude comes from not having what you need, what having your needs met while you were younger. You know what I'm saying? Or it could be years of accumulated like resentment in previous relationships, and it's reaching a boiling point. And it's all right to have strong convictions about something. I'm telling you from personal experience, it's okay to have strong convictions, but your partner deserves to be heard, be respected. You know what I'm saying? And for you to hear their viewpoint, because again, you're not the only person in that relationship. So there must be, again, that word give and take, right? Because if you expect to win every relationship or every argument or every disagreement or every point of view, then what does your partner have to look forward to? Okay? Learn how to respectfully, right? Respectfully resolve conflicts. Conflicts and issues or problems or whatever, right? They're inevitable in every relationship. But to keep that relationship healthy and strong, both people need, to feel like they're being heard. The goal cannot be to win, but to maintain the strength and the health of that relationship. Okay? Make sure you're fighting fair. Keep the focus on the issues at hand and respect the other person. Don't start an argument over things that cannot be changed. And what do I mean by that? You can have an argument about going to the sports bar every Thursday or every Friday, or going to the club every Friday and Saturday, right? That's something that can be changed, right? But my shape, my size, my hairstyle, or whatever the case may be, right? Those things can't be changed. So why are we arguing about something that I can't change? So you gotta fight fair. You gotta have arguments and disagreement, because fighting isn't unhealthy. It can be, but it also can be healthy. What I mean by that, as long as you guys are having a conversation and you're arguing or having a disagreement about something, right? You both are still fighting for that relationship. So fighting isn't always bad. That's why you got to maintain being able to fight fair. It's unhealthy when you're not being heard. It's unhealthy when you're arguing about things that can't be changed. It's unhealthy when we just said that we're going to work on this issue and then you bring it up the next time we have a disagreement as if I'm not even trying. That's fighting unfair. That's an unhealthy fight. Okay? Another thing to think about is don't attack people directly. Okay? But use a statement to communicate how you feel. For example, like instead of saying you make me feel bad, how about say you make me feel bad when you do that? I'm still telling you that you made me feel like trash, right? But I'm not attacking you by making it your issue, by making it a problem. I'm trying to tell you that you and I are stuck in a rut because you're making me feel this way. All right? And it sounds so simple, but it is. There are ways to say the exact same thing without making a person feel attacked. Because when you attack me, I've been taught and trained to defend myself. And when you defend yourself physically or mentally, you are not looking for reason. That's not what you're doing. So just keep that in mind, right? How about this? Don't drag an old argument into the mix, right? Rather than looking at a past conflict or a grudge, or trying to assign blame, like, blame has to be on somebody. Sometimes it's just a situation. But focus on what you can do in the here and now to resolve this problem. Okay? You got to be willing to solve this problem. Maybe we need to revisit that other situation later or afterwards, but let's figure out how to resolve this one first. You have to be willing to forgive. Hell, maybe take turns. That way no one feels like they always have to be the bigger person. Because we've always said that, well, I guess I got to be the bigger person. Well, since you ain't, then I guess it's up to me to forgive. Or don't be the one don't make that other person feel like they always have to be the one that has to apologize all the time. You know what I'm saying? Find other ways to make up. Ladies, it's okay to say you're sorry. Tooting your butt up in the air or walking around with the least amount of clothes on isn't always an apology. Sometimes, as a man, we need to hear you say you apologize for what you have done, because that's the expectation with us. We don't get to walk around the house half naked and hoping that it changes something. We have to actually use words. So don't be afraid to use words to forgive. Okay? If things get heated or if they flare up, you know what I'm saying? Take a break. Back out of that conversation. But this is the most important part about backing out of a conversation. You have to come back to that topic when you both have calmed down. Don't make enough habit of living, you know what I'm saying, living with issues unresolved. Just start treading into that unhealthy part of relationships. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like y'all are getting to a place where it's going to turn ugly or it's getting bad or yada, 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 take a step back. Come back. Set up, when you guys on good terms, set a term. We take a break from a conversation. When do we come back to it? You both agree to it. An hour later, 2 hours later, later on this evening, before we go to bed, whatever, right? Come back to that conversation. Healthy relationships have to have less unresolved issues than they have unresolved issues. I don't think I said that right, but you get the point of what I'm saying, right? You want to spend most of your time having your issues being resolved or on the verge of being resolved versus continue to just keep throwing things in a bag, because eventually that bag gets a little full, it gets a little heavy, and it starts to become overwhelming. Okay? An older guy told me that, and it has saved my life on a lot of occasions. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you remember earlier we were talking, right? I've calmed down. I want to first of all apologize for my role in it getting there, and apologize for whatever it is that you've done, but also hopefully you took that time to come up with a resolution. And then when you get done talking, allow that other person to talk. Other person, when it's your time to talk, the first thing that should come out of your mouth is, I want to apologize for my role. When you did this, you made me feel, right? And you got to be willing to express yourself, but the other person has to be willing to hear it. Okay? And it is so essential that you guys find a resolution to those issues, right? And in closing, I want to say this, right? I'm gonna give one more tip, right? You got to be prepared. We're not gonna do the close. You got to be prepared for the ups and downs in a relationship. It is so important to recognize that there are ups and downs in every relationship. Okay, you won't always be on the same page. Sometimes one partner may be struggling with an issue that stresses them, such as death or, death of a close family member or other events, like, losing your job, right? Or severe health problems. These things can affect both partners. This affects the both of you. And it may make it difficult to be in that relationship because maybe the other person doesn't react or respond the way you want them to. Maybe they don't know how. But the communication cannot break down to the point where you can't have a conversation with each other. You know what I'm saying? Some people might have, a different idea on how to manage finances or raise children. That's okay. Because if you dated correctly, you've already talked about these things. Now that they're at the forefront, you now have to deal with them head on. This issue is not the other issue. Okay? Different people cope with stress differently. You got to understand that. And, misunderstandings can rapidly turn into like frustration and anger. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry, right? But what's not okay is when you start shutting the other person out and pretending like they don't exist, or that you can do this without them, or that you don't need them. Communication, if communication is your foundation in your relationship, there isn't anything that cannot be resolved through talking. Doesn't matter what it is. You got to want to be there. And as long as you want to be there, you can talk about any and everything. Looking back to earlier stages of your relationship, right? sharing those moments that brought you two together, right? Examine the point in which it began to drift apart, and resolve what it is you can, however you can. Work together to try to rekindle that flame that went out. I'm saying? Going back to old situations, going back to the beginning, these are healthy things. These are things that you need to do even in the best of terms. Hey, you remember when we first got together how we used to do this right here? Yeah, why didn't we do that? And then you start having a conversation about it. And all of a sudden you notice that the next time that opportunity presents itself, you guys do it again. These are the things that got you here. Pretending like the past doesn't exist is not living in the past. It's about bringing them up so that you can get back to hopefully a healthy place, a good sexual place, a good communicating place. Okay? But before I go, I want to say this, right? Be open to change. Okay? Change it is inevitable in life. And it will happen whether you go with it or whether you fight it, right? Flexibility is essential to adapting to change. That is always taking place in any relationship, and it allows you to grow together through both the good times and the bad times. I cannot stress this enough. I am a creature of habit. There are just certain things that I don't like to do. But I also understand that the moment I invited this other person into my life, I have to understand that they're not me. They're not cut from my same cloth. They come from a different background, different household, different person, different family situation. So I have to be open to change. I got to have some flexibility. But if I can say that I, a stubborn person as myself, has to be flexible, you, the person of reason, must also be willing to be flexible in the things that you like, the things that you don't like. A deal breaker for me is you can't be taller than me. But sometimes the heart wants what the hearts want. If you're the same height or a few inches taller than me, you might have a shot because change is inevitable. I had to be open to it. I can't be looking for love but closing the door every time someone tall walks in front of me. Okay? On my way out, I want to say this to everybody. I truly, truly hope that this episode gave you guys something to think about in your personal lives, something to talk about with your partner, something to give your partner, something to listen to. Maybe it sounds differently coming from someone else versus coming from you, right? Hope this is something that you're willing to share with other people, right? This is something that might keep you from checking out on your relationship, but give you something to work towards, something to fight for. Every relationship isn't intended to be a lifelong relationship. Every relationship isn't designed that you should walk away the moment it resembles something from your past. But every relationship deserves attention. Every relationship deserves communication. And every relationship deserves an open-minded and flexible person from both people's standpoint. Okay? This episode's come out every single Monday. We have about 4, maybe 5 episodes left in this season. I'm on YouTube. These episodes come out on YouTube on Sundays. The online episodes come out on Mondays because I want to draw people towards the YouTube side as well. If you want to interact with me, I'm begging you. I'm open for the conversation all day, every day. Okay? The dblpodcast.wordpress.com. On the way out, I want to tell you like I always do, from my family to yours, everybody, I want to tell you the deepest